Nook Karako.
Tēnā koe te mana whakawā. Mr. Speaker, it gives me great pleasure to be able to stand here and talk about the Greater Christchurch Regeneration Bill 2015 in its first reading. Sir, if we go back over 4 years ago, Ruamoko visited the city of Christchurch. And sir, we were ripped apart. Iconic buildings were destroyed and the face of our beautiful city was changed forever. But far more important, sir, was the 185 people who lost their lives. And even when we look to the future, it is also important, sir, that in the next phase for the regeneration of Christchurch, we remember them. Sir, we saw months and years afterwards that disaster brought out the best in Christchurch people. Students rallied together to help their city, neighbours helped neighbours, and search and rescue, police, fire, defence and other services, sir, went well beyond the call of duty. Mr. Speaker, the government also stepped in and stepped up. In the weeks following the quake, the government acted quickly to establish the Canterbury Earthquake Recovery Authority, or CERA, as we all know it as. And so it was at that time that we needed those powers. And since then, sir, the government has gone into 2 elections with rebuilding the city of Christchurch as a top priority and committed over $16 billion to the rebuild effort. Sir, the government's response received the greatest endorsement possible in the fact is that the approval of Christchurch voters in 2 elections. Mr. Speaker, the CERA structure put in place in 2011 has served our city very well. The ability to plan the rebuild centrally and the powers given to CERA have allowed a relatively quick rebuild, and excellent progress continues to be made. But it's now time, sir, for transition. Transition from recovery to regeneration to a new phase. Sir, while there is plenty of building still going on, this change is about putting the focus on regeneration of our city and not just fixing what was broken. It is also important as part of that process that we bring local authorities back into the role of shaping our city and our region. So, sir, this bill replaces CERA with a new entity, Regenerate Christchurch. This will be jointly, sir, controlled by the Crown and the Christchurch City Council until the 30th of June 2021, when it will become, sir, a council-controlled organisation. And I think this is the essence here, is that word transitional, in the fact that at the end, sir, 2021, it will go back to full authority under the council. Sir, Regeneration Christchurch will be governed by a board of 7 members. 3 will be appointed by the Christchurch City Council and 3 by the Minister. And this one here, which I think is very important, particularly when we talk about partnerships and we talk about stakeholders, because, sir, there is a further appointment by the Minister after the consultation with Te Runanga o Naitahu. Sir, this bill repeals the Canterbury Earthquake Recovery Act of 2011, which established CERA, and consequently many of the powers that act gave CERA will cease to exist. But there will continue to be a number of powers, sir, that will support the regeneration of Greater Christchurch. These include powers for the Minister, such as the power to suspend, amend or revoke RMA documents, council plans or other documents, and the power to amalgamate any land acquired under the bill or previously under the CERA Act. It also gives important powers to the CEO of Regenerate Christchurch, such as the power to carry out a commission demolition of buildings, restrict access to buildings and roads, and also to dispose of land. So these powers are needed to support the regeneration of our city. But just as importantly, they are limited. They must be exercised within the purposes, sir, of this bill, and they must actually be necessary to achieve the purpose of the bill, and that is the regeneration of Christchurch. Sir, another important aspect of this bill is the way in which it acknowledges the key leadership role that Te Rūrango o Ngāi Tahu played in the recovery, or the emergency, the recovery and the rebuild, and the role it will continue, sir, to play in regeneration of Christchurch. After the earthquake, sir, I was part of Te Awhewheru Whenua, which was a special committee put together by Te Rūrango o Ngāi Tahu to set up during the emergency to ensure that Ngāi Tahu was responding to the needs of our people and assisting all of the other mandated entities involved in the emergency response and recovery. Sir, Ngāi Tahu's role is recognised through the requirement for the Minister to consult with Ngāi Tahu before the appointment of one of the board members. So I think that's a very important sort of part of this, sir, is that acknowledgement of the fact that Ngāi Tahu did stand up. Ngāi Tahu did understand that very important thing about partnership o kotahitaka. So, as part of the transition from recovery to regeneration, this bill introduces regeneration plans, which set out the direction and details for regeneration in a particular area. These plans, sir, are intended to ensure regeneration happens in a timely and collaborative way. And it's really reassuring, sir, to hear the speakers on the other side of the House, Dr. Megan Woods and also the Honourable Ruth Dyson, in the fact, sir, is that they do indeed have a job of opposition in this House. But I can feel, sir, as we all do, I believe, on this side of the House, that there is a desire for kotahitaka, to work together for the benefit of the regeneration of Christchurch. And so we can then continue through to try and really come together with our people around the aspirations that they want for their city and also their region. Sir, collaboration and cooperation. Local authorities, central government and Ngāi Tahu all have something to contribute. Cooperation, sir, between all of us will ensure that we get the best structure for Christchurch. There are also many others, sir, not just those major stakeholders, but the opportunity for many other voices to be heard. There are community groups, there are businesses and individuals throughout Christchurch with something to contribute. Sir, this bill ensures that they are heard by requiring the provision of opportunities for public comment before the Minister makes a decision on regeneration plans. Mr. Speaker, Christchurch is ready for its next phase. While rebuilding work continues, now is the time for us, sir, to shift our focus to regeneration, to look ahead to what we want our city to be and look like in the future. Sir, this bill takes us on a waka, on a journey from recovery to regeneration, and I commend this bill to the House. Kia ora.